Okay, Adam Posener, super excited to talk to you today. You're 3-0 as a pro. You're on an 8-win streak. You had 5 wins in your amateur record. And you've got this fight coming up November 15th.
Yeah.
Samourai and BFL going head to head, the two promotions, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it and represent Vancouver and represent my promotion, really. My first 4 amateur fights were Rumble in the Cage because I was 18 at the time. I just graduated high school, and Rumble in the Cage was the only place that would have me, right? Unified was different athletic commissions and whatnot wouldn't let me do it, but props to Lee Mean for letting me showcase my skills on his platform. And and then I did one fight in the States as well as an amateur. About a year ago to the day, I made my first PFL fight, got the title, and then turned professional, and here we are. Yeah, he's from North Carolina. He's 4-0 as a pro, 4-1 amateur, and he's 2-1 in bare knuckle boxing, which is pretty cool. So, I never thought I'd go up against a bare knuckle guy, but props to him. I don't know if I heard I watched some of his interviews on BFL's Instagram, and the guy has like some sort of issue with me, I guess. I don't know why. But at the same time, I'm just going to make him eat his words on November 15th.
Interesting. Why? What did he say?
Oh, he said a lot of things. Like one of his clips, he was calling me one-dimensional. He was, I guess it's not the worst things in the world. He's going off of video, and obviously he's just making assumptions, right? So he's judging me off my last performance, and I felt my last one wasn't as good to my standards as it could have been for myself. But if he's just judging me off that one, it's going to be a tough fight for him because I'm always evolving, and you can't just judge off of one performance. You got to watch them all and take an average of it all. So if he's judging off the one, then I really hope he's not, because then it's just going to be an easy night at the office for me. But if he knows what I'm capable of, then it should be good.
I do jiu-jitsu. I've never competed MMA, but if I'm looking at your record and I'm taking it as a whole, your ground game is incredible. You're an awesome grappler.
Yeah, thank you.
And you've got a ton of submissions, right, on your record.
Yeah.
How is your stand-up?
Yeah, I feel like it's one of the most underrated parts of my game. One of the things that I feel like I'm best at is taking the path of least resistance, right? You watch the great Canadian fighters like, GSP, Rory McDonald, they did what was the right thing to do. And so far, on the most part, I've felt that the ground game in the jiu-jitsu has been the right way, partly because I haven't really fought a world-class jiu-jitsu fighter or a world-class wrestler yet, right? Most of them have been boxers, kickboxers,
right,
brawlers. So it's been the right thing to do on the most part. When I fought my last BFL fight in May, that was the most jiu-jitsu guy I fought.
Mm-hmm.
And my stand-up actually set up the submission. I cracked him with the right hand in the first, a left hook in the second, and then when I got him to the floor, I ended up getting that dart strangle. So, I really wanted to show stand-up as well in the last one, just because there's a bit of a height and reach difference between me and him.
Okay.
But at the same time, if you're going to throw a big haymaker your first move, it's like, you gotta be gotta play your cards a little better than that. And
yeah, you don't want to be too
ended up doing what I did.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have a feeling you're going to be fighting somebody who's willing to take some risks in this upcoming fight, being that he's a bare knuckle boxer.
Yeah, well, you're fighting bare knuckle. You're definitely a risk taker for sure.
Yeah.
But he's a tough guy, though. He took some shots in that bare knuckle fight, right? Like, I don't think this guy is going to be an easy pushover by any means.
Yeah.
As much as he thinks that I'm just a one-dimensional jiu-jitsu guy, as he said in his interview clips. Mm-hmm. But I know he's a good fighter, right? But at the same time, I know I have my paths to win, right?
Yeah.
If he's overlooking me entirely, then that's going to be an issue for him. It just is.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It sounds like you do have a lot of history with fighting guys who have a pretty solid Muay Thai background, right?
Yeah, everyone I've fought on the most part has been a kickboxer, boxer. This guy's more Muay Thai based because he has a couple of knockouts that I've seen. He's landed some flying knees, he's got a nice front kick. So the guy's you don't get those by accident.
Mm-hmm.
He has the good Muay Thai background, I would say, but he's just done bare knuckle. I feel like that's where his kind of aggressive style comes from. So
right.
It's going to be an interesting fight.
Yeah, I would say, try to take advantage of maybe him being that aggressor, possibly. Back to what we were talking about a moment ago, about how you think that Mac Laursen, my teammate at Champions Creed, might be next for you. Similar kind of guy, right? He's got a very decent Muay Thai background. He went to Worlds. Yep. He's got a really similar record to you in terms of on a 7-fight win streak.
Yeah,
5 of those were RNCs. You know, you cannot let this guy take your back, and people say the same thing about you.
Yeah, no, I mean, what's the saying with don't let Big Mac take your back, he'll choke your ass out, and that's a fact. I mean, he's done that pretty well up to this point. But yeah, no, I really hope that if the Mac fight does happen, it would be a cool fight for really, I think, for BFL in Canada. But at the same time, I know what he's going through with his dad having stage 4 cancer and stuff, and I really hope he does get his shot on the UFC. But if he doesn't, then, you have to fight the next guy. And if I'm the next guy, then that's the fight to make. I think that would be a good one.
For sure. Mac has a really big heart, and it's all about the game. He's a very pure fighter, so it would be a wonderful fight that I'll be looking forward to it. I hope it happens personally.
Yeah, Mac would be good for sure. 'Cause, he's a tough guy too. That's what I would like. I feel like he's going to be like the hardest to put away. Yeah. Where I've finished all of my fights, and if there's one that's going to be my longest, I think it would be him, because his last 2 fights against Ashton Charlton and Dayan, he had a bit of a rough start in both of those fights. And then, he was able to overcome it, and he ended up coming back and got the rear naked choke, and now he's at where he's at. So, yeah I think that'd be a great one for sure, definitely. But again, I'm not really too worried about the names particularly, right? I just want to get that BFL title, whoever holds it. If Mac goes to the UFC, then it's just going to be the next best guy. So we'll see what happens. And but I've got a little checklist I want to hit before I hit the UFC and the Contender Series. So we'll just take it one by one and go from there.
That's interesting. Yeah, I really wanted to ask you about that. Like, I'm sure, like most Canadian fighters, that's the goal, right? Get to the UFC. But what's your game plan? What's the map that you're drawing out for yourself in order to get there?
Yeah, I got a little mental checklist that I want to hit before I make it, right? There's a couple guys that I want to fight, not necessarily names, but more like stylistic matchups that I want, just because I feel like there's some certain ways that I haven't got to see in the octagon yet. I feel like to this point I've really only shown I can handpick the amount of things that I've shown in a fight. And that's really only 30% of what I'm capable of. And as I'm evolving all the time, it could be 25%. And you could just be decreasing with my average skill set. But as we keep going on, there's a couple styles and, there's a couple examples of names that I would like. But again, I'm hoping maybe 2026. That's my ideal time frame. But if it's 2025, it's 2025.
Well, you got some time. You're only 20 years old, right? So.
Yeah. So I'm not in a really huge rush for it, but at the same time, we have to be realistic, right? I think with a finish here, that puts me as a 4-0 professional. I'm in title contention after that, right? There's just nothing really else. It's hard enough to get fights as it is, and for me to be on this card, they had to get a guy from North Carolina. All the Samourai guys that were close to my level and fights and experience didn't want it. Right? So they had to. I give credit to this guy for taking it, but at the same time, I'm just gonna keep doing my thing. And I think the title will put me into that elite group of Canadian fighters in Canada that should be in the UFC. When you finish a guy under a minute in the first round that was undefeated, right? You're gonna get a lot of guys not wanting you. And I fought a guy with 8 fights who was a jiu-jitsu black belt. And I really thought that was one of my best performances to date. And I really thought that I showed a complete skill set. I hurt him on the feet multiple times. I took him down multiple times. And, I landed some nice elbows on the ground. And I ultimately got the Dart Strangle, right? So that was ultimately a very good performance. And then even the last guy, right? One of the best gyms in Canada, H2O MMA. And I took him out in the first round. Yeah. This guy is the same thing. He's undefeated, right? He's saying all these things about me, right? I'm going to make him eat his words, and I'm going to put him away. I want to beat this guy, this North Carolina guy, right? I want to get the BFL title against whoever it is, whether it's Mac, whether it's the BFL just announced the main event of that Samourai BFL card, Jonathan Ramsey versus Rodrigo Cezinando, I think his last name is. Yeah. Maybe get the winner of that for the BFL title. I want to fight like a good wrestler, right? A guy with, that's going to be hard to take down. May have to make me modify my game. And if I still get him to the ground and take him to the floor and do what I do, then maybe that just shows that my level is world class. And then after that, I also want to get like a guy who, maybe didn't have the best result on the Contender Series, maybe a guy that lost, or maybe a guy that used to be on the UFC that got cut, or a Bellator guy, PFL, whatever.
Yeah.
That's what I want to aim for. Once I get those 3-4 things checked off, then I think I'll be ready for the big show. My only rules are they just got to have a winning record. They got to be legit, and there's got to be something on the line. I don't really want fights that are going to knock me backwards. I feel like I'm not in a position for that right now. I want gradually tougher fights. And I feel like this guy is the good step to that, elite group of individuals in Canada. Because I think he's in the same position right now, right? He's trying to work his way to one of the elites to make Contender Series UFC.
Yeah.
So it's a good fight for both of us, and one of us could get a title fight after this. And then we just go from there.
That's awesome. And so I would imagine that the people that you have around you, and maybe Dayon's one of these people, I certainly see him as being a pretty wise guy with a lot of longevity. Like, are there people around you who give you business advice when it comes to your career?
100%. Yeah. No, all these guys a little bit everywhere. I train kind of all over Vancouver here. I feel like I've got the city behind me, and I just can't wait to keep performing for these guys.
Yeah, that's true. Vancouver has an awesome MMA scene. Like, there's so many gyms there. I feel like it's a very open and welcoming community. Like, all MMA communities are like that to an extent, I think. But I found, especially in Vancouver, like when I first started doing kickboxing, and then I started shooting at the fights there, like just meeting all the fighters, it happened so naturally, so easily. Yeah, it should be cool, kind of Eastern Canada versus Western Canada.
My sponsors are super supportive. I'm grateful for every single one of them, Argus included. And yeah, I really like, they just support me in the ways that I need to, whatever it is. They always help me out, right?
Cool. Okay, well, thank you so much, Adam. It was wonderful.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
For sure. I'm excited to watch your continued success, watch you rise, man.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, just take it one by one and take a huge step forward on November 15th, right? So
Hell
go
yeah.
from there.
Hell yeah. All right.